I told my sister her toddler isn't the center of our family. Now she's silent, my parents are upset, and I'm the one everyone's blaming. This is honestly such a mess, and I don't know if I handled it the right way, but here we go. I, 34F, have been married to my husband, 36M, for 7 years. We have an 8-year-old autistic son, and life's already been pretty stressful for both of us. I thought we were handling it as a team, like we were in this together, until a few weeks ago when everything fell apart. We live in a small neighborhood where everyone's pretty friendly, and I got along well with our next-door neighbors, Emily, 32F, and her husband Dave, 35M. Emily and I weren't super close, but we chatted often. Our kids played together sometimes, and our husbands would occasionally hang out too. At first, I thought it was nice that my husband and Emily seemed to get along. You know, just neighbors being friendly. But then things started to feel off. My husband became more secretive, especially with his phone, and he always seemed to bump into Emily when I wasn't around. He'd go out for random walks or suddenly needed to run errands right after dinner. I noticed these little things, but I didn't want to seem paranoid. I mean, we've been through a lot together. I didn't think he would do something like that to me. Then one day, everything came crashing down. I had to come home early from work unexpectedly because our son's school had a half day I forgot about. I walked in, and there, in our bedroom, I found my husband and Emily, together, in our bed. I felt like the world stopped. They both freaked out when they saw me. My husband scrambling for clothes and Emily crying, saying it was a mistake and that she was so sorry. I couldn't even process it. I just walked out, shaking, and went to pick up my son from school. Later that night, I confronted my husband, and he admitted to having an affair with her for the past few months. He begged me to forgive him, said it was a stupid, impulsive thing, and swore he loved me and didn't want to lose our family. I was heartbroken, but I couldn't even look at him. I had no idea what to do, but I knew I couldn't stay with someone who would betray me like that. Then there was Emily's husband, Dave. I knew him well enough to know he was completely in the dark about all of this. I couldn't just stay silent and let him be blindsided like I was. So, the next day, I went over to their house while Emily was out and told Dave everything. I even showed him proof. Texts, pictures, everything I had. He was devastated, obviously, but he thanked me for being honest with him. And that's when the real drama started. Both my husband and Emily went ballistic when they found out I'd told Dave. My husband said I should have kept it between us and worked it out for the sake of our son. Emily called me all kinds of names, saying I had no right to tell her husband and that I ruined her life. She even claimed it wasn't serious and that I blew everything out of proportion. Now, Dave is considering divorcing her, and I've already filed for divorce myself, but I'm getting a lot of flack from mutual friends, saying I went too far by telling Dave and that I should have tried to keep things private to avoid tearing apart two families. I feel like I did what I had to do, but I'm questioning myself now. ATA for divorcing my husband and telling Emily's husband about the affair? Should I have kept quiet and handled it differently? Update 1. I've had a little more time to process everything since my first post, and honestly, things are even messier than I thought. I really didn't think this could get worse, but it somehow managed to. For those of you wondering, yes, I still feel like telling Dave about the affair was the right thing to do. It's been eating away at me whether I should have kept it between my husband and me. But at the end of the day, I know I couldn't just sit there, knowing Dave was in the dark while I was living in the same nightmare. To everyone saying I should have kept quiet for the sake of my son, well, it's not like I can undo the damage my husband already caused. Our son's going to see the fallout no matter what, and I refuse to lie about why our family is breaking apart. Anyway, it all hit the fan after I told Dave. He was devastated, obviously, but he wasted no time. He confronted Emily almost immediately, and it did not go well. Apparently, he threw her out of the house the same day I told him everything. And here's where the real drama begins. Emily didn't take it quietly. A couple of days later, she showed up at my house, pounding on the door like a maniac. My son was home, so I tried to stay calm, but when I opened the door, she just exploded. She accused me of ruining her life, of turning Dave against her, and said I had no right to interfere in her marriage. I tried to stay composed, but Emily just kept going on and on about how everything was my fault. She said that my husband had fallen out of love with me long ago, and that I had pushed him away by being too focused on our son. She actually tried to make it seem like I was to blame for the affair because I was too distracted by our son's needs. At that point, I just couldn't take it anymore. I told her to get off my property before I called the cops. She finally left, but not before making a huge scene on the front porch. I was shaking by the time she was gone. Later that night, I confronted my husband about Emily's little outburst, and as expected, he was more concerned about the drama than the fact that Emily had just verbally attacked me in front of our house. He actually told me that I should have just ignored her, that I was making it worse by threatening to call the police. He's acting like I'm the one stirring the pot, like I didn't just walk in on him and Emily in our own bed. The gaslighting is unreal. He's still trying to frame this as if I'm overreacting, and I'm starting to think he genuinely believes that his affair shouldn't have any real consequences. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get more absurd, Dave reached out to me again. He thanked me for telling him the truth and for showing him the proof of the affair, but he also had a warning for me. Apparently, Emily's spinning a whole new story to their mutual friends and family. She's telling everyone that my husband manipulated her into the affair, that she was emotionally vulnerable and didn't really know what she was doing. She's trying to paint herself as some kind of victim, claiming that she wasn't in her right mind and that my husband took advantage of her. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Emily was just as much a part of this as my husband, but now she's trying to save face by making it seem like she was coerced. Dave said Emily's been texting him nonstop, begging for him to take her back. She's saying she's going to therapy, that she's working on herself, and that she never truly loved my husband. She's trying every excuse in the book to explain away her actions. I feel bad for Dave, but at the same time, I'm furious. It's so obvious that Emily's just trying to salvage her life after getting caught, but I'm not buying it for a second. She knew exactly what she was doing when she slept with my husband. And as if that wasn't enough drama, words getting around the neighborhood. It's like high school all over again, with everyone whispering behind my back, like they know every detail. I thought I'd gotten away from all the gossip when I grew up, but nope. Here we are again. Some of our mutual friends are siding with Emily, or at least trying to downplay what happened. They're saying it was just a mistake, that these things happen, and that I should have handled it privately to protect my son. The same people who are supposed to support me are now trying to guilt-trip me into staying with my husband. I can't even believe the nerve of some people. As if I'm supposed to just smile, sweep it all under the rug, and pretend that my husband didn't blow up our marriage. My husband's family is no better. His mom actually had the audacity to call me and tell me that all men make mistakes, and that I should reconsider the divorce. She had the nerve to say that it's better for kids to grow up with both parents, and that I should forgive him for the sake of our son. She even tried to convince me that this affair was just a phase, and that my husband would come back to me if I'd just give him the chance. I almost lost it on her. I don't know how she can justify her son cheating on me in our own bed, and still think that I'm the one overreacting. At this point, I feel like I'm standing in the middle of a battlefield. Everyone's got an opinion on how I should handle my own life, and I can't seem to get anyone to understand that I'm doing what's best for me and my son. There's no way I can stay in a marriage where I've been betrayed like this. The trust is completely gone, and I'm done with pretending like we can just work it out for the sake of appearances. My son is the most important person in my life, and I refuse to raise him in a household where I'm miserable, or where I have to constantly look over my shoulder, wondering if my husband's going to cheat again. Dave and I have kept in touch a bit since all of this went down. We've both filed for divorce now, and honestly, it's been somewhat of a relief to talk to someone who's going through the same thing. I think he's still in shock over everything, but at least we're on the same page that staying in toxic marriages isn't an option. He's been taking it day by day, just like me, but I can tell it's taking a toll on him. Emily's been blowing up his phone with apology texts and tearful voicemails, but Dave's not budging. He's as done with her as I am with my husband, and I don't blame him. In the middle of all this chaos, I'm just trying to keep things as normal as possible for my son. He's been asking questions, and it breaks my heart every time. I don't want him to grow up thinking that this kind of dysfunction is normal. I'm doing my best to shield him from the worst of it, but it's hard when every day feels like a new explosion waiting to happen. I wish I could say this was the end of the drama, but I have a feeling this is just the beginning. My husband and Emily clearly aren't done stirring the pot, and I'm sure there's more to come. But for now, I'm just trying to focus on my son, my own sanity, and getting through each day without falling apart. Update 2. I never thought I'd be here writing this final update, but after everything that's happened, I need to get it all out. I genuinely didn't think things could spiral any further out of control, but this whole situation has turned into something I could have never anticipated. Now that the dust has somewhat settled, I'm hoping this is the last chapter in what's been the most insane few months of my life. To start, I'm officially divorced. The paperwork was finalized last week. It's strange to think about after 7 years of marriage, but it's also an incredible relief. The last few months have been nothing but arguments, mediation sessions, and lawyers going back and forth. My soon-to-be ex-husband, I refuse to even call him my husband anymore, made the entire divorce process as difficult as possible. He fought tooth and nail on every little thing: finances, the house, custody. He really seemed to think that dragging this out would make me reconsider, but honestly, it only solidified my decision to end it. The biggest battle was over custody. He went from begging me to stay married for the sake of our son to claiming I was an unfit mother because I was emotionally unstable after the affair. He actually tried to use the fact that I was devastated by his betrayal as evidence that I wasn't capable of being the primary caregiver. My lawyer shut that down quickly, though. Thank God. I think he realized he didn't have much of a case, but that didn't stop him from trying to use our son as leverage to hurt me. It was disgusting, honestly. I never thought the man I married could turn into someone who would weaponize our child against me. In the end, we agreed on joint custody, but with me as the primary parent. He gets visitation on weekends and one weeknight every other week, which I'm okay with. It gives me time to focus on rebuilding my life, and my son seems to be adjusting to the new routine. He's still asking a lot of questions, though. He wants to know why Daddy isn't home anymore, why things changed, and every time he asks, it feels like a stab to the heart. I try to explain things in a way that makes sense to an 8-year-old without trashing his father, but it's not easy. He's such a sweet, sensitive kid, and I hate that he has to go through this at such a young age. As for Emily and Dave, well, that's where things get even messier. Dave and I were in touch a lot throughout the divorce process. We'd check in on each other, share updates about what was happening with the lawyers, and just vent about how insane the situation had become. It was honestly nice to have someone who understood exactly what I was going through. For a while, it seemed like Dave was doing okay, but then things took a sharp turn. A few weeks ago, Emily started showing up at Dave's house unannounced. She would knock on the door late at night, begging him to talk to her, apologizing and saying she made a huge mistake. She even had the audacity to try and blame her actions on me again, claiming that my husband had brainwashed her into the affair and that she never meant for it to go that far. Apparently, she's now telling people that she was emotionally manipulated by my husband and that I was overreacting by going to Dave. It's honestly laughable at this point. Dave, to his credit, wasn't having any of it. He told Emily to leave him alone, that there was no chance of them getting back together. But here's the kicker. Emily refused to leave. She started showing up more frequently to the point where Dave had to get a restraining order. I was floored when he told me this. Emily's gone from playing the victim to full-on stalker mode, and I can't even begin to understand what's going through her head. But that's not even the craziest part. The reason Emily was so desperate to get back with Dave? She's pregnant. And no, it's not Dave's. She admitted it to him during one of her unannounced visits. She's claiming it's my ex-husband's baby. Yep, you read that right. This whole time, while my husband was playing the remorseful spouse trying to work things out for our family, he was still seeing Emily behind the scenes. I don't even have words for how disgusting that is. Dave was furious, obviously. He told Emily to never contact him again and immediately informed me about the pregnancy. When I confronted my ex about it, he denied it at first, of course, but after a lot of back and forth, He finally admitted that he'd been seeing Emily secretly even after I caught them together. He said he didn't know what he was thinking, that it was all a huge mistake, blah, blah, blah. It's the same excuses I've been hearing since day one. But this is a whole new level of betrayal. Emily is due in a few months, and I've already made it clear to my ex that whatever happens with her and this baby is his problem, not mine. I'm done. I don't want anything to do with their drama anymore. My focus is on my son and making sure he's okay. My ex has already caused enough damage to our family, and I'm not going to let him drag me down any further with this mess. On a slightly more positive note, Dave and I have become good friends throughout all of this. No, not like that. We're not romantically involved, and I don't see that happening. We've both been through too much, and right now, the last thing either of us needs is more complications. But it's been nice to have someone who understands what it's like to have your world turned upside down by people you thought you could trust. We've leaned on each other a lot, and that's been a silver lining in all this chaos. So, where do things stand now? Well, I'm trying to move forward. I've been focusing on my son, my job, and my own mental health. I started seeing a therapist, which has been incredibly helpful in dealing with the trauma of the betrayal and the fallout. I'm trying to create a new normal for my son and me. And while it's not easy, I'm starting to see glimmers of light at the end of the tunnel. My ex is still in the picture because of our son, but I've set firm boundaries. We communicate only about our son, and I keep it as short and businesslike as possible. He's still trying to get me to co-parent more closely, but I'm keeping my distance. I don't trust him, and I doubt I ever will again. Emily's pregnancy is just another reminder of how deeply he's betrayed me, and I'm not going to pretend like everything's fine for the sake of keeping things amicable. He made his choices, and now he has to live with the consequences. This whole ordeal has been a nightmare, but I'm finally starting to see a way out. I know there's still a long road ahead, especially with the co-parenting arrangement, but I'm hopeful that I can build a better life for myself and my son. I've learned a lot about my own strength, and while I wouldn't wish this experience on anyone, I'm proud of how I've handled it. Here's hoping this really is the end of the drama. I'm ready to close this chapter of my life and move on.